Hi, folks. We are back at the World of Wellness. This is the Weiner Wellness Week, of course. This is Friday of the Weiner Wellness Week. And boy, did we pull in a special guest for you today. Special for a lot of reasons, okay? Especially because her and her family have been in this industry longer than me, okay? And longer than Jamie. So that's saying something. Usually we're the old timers, but also because we brought in a brand new line, and it's just the beginning of that line here at the World of Wellness. And we started off with some amazing homeopathic remedies and formulations. We've never had homeopathics here before. So here to introduce us and you to that line is Heather Lord of Professional Health Products. Hi, Heather.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Tell everybody a little bit about you and your family.
So, Professional Health Products was actually founded by Peter and Kathy Nudie back in 1978. Pete had been in the industry since about 71, selling with Nutridyne. Transferred over to Steroidal Products in the late 70s, and that's when they actually founded the parent company is really Nutritional Specialties Inc. And was the largest distributor of Steroidal brands for a long time. In the 80s, when Sorio was sold, Pete and Kathy actually developed their own two brands of products, which are Professional Health Products, and then later came Methylgenetic Nutrition. Since that time, since really the early 80s, they had been carrying and were very much a part of homeopathic medicine and carrying homeopathic medicine. So the partner that we work with to make these, we've been working with them since the 80s. And as I said, we've got over 45 years of experience, about 50 years of experience now in supplements, homeopathy, and nutraceuticals.
Oh, that's awesome. And her dad and her brother, Peter,
yes.
Right? We go way back in the industry. We were talking about that, reminiscing a little bit earlier about our days in the late 90s, competing with each other.
Oh, I'm sure those were fun times.
It was fun times, yeah.
I don't know if I'd want to compete against Peter, but...
well, he was a young guy back then, so he was a little green, but yeah. We had a lot of fun. He's still young. Of course he is. Peter Jr. But yeah, so PHP, tell us a little bit about that, how long it's been around, where you're located, and we have a complete catalog, of products here that we're not going to cover it all today, but we are going to cover our brand new line of homeopathics with a little bit more detail for you. So you understand, like I said, we've never had them here before, but let's go back just a little bit with PHP.
So PHP was actually created with the idea of a lot of collaboration from all of the experience that Pete, my father, had in working with different doctors to help develop superior nutrition.
Okay.
And when I talk about superior nutrition, I think it's really important to know that since the 80s, Pete has sourced his own raw materials from all over the United States. So at the time, even using contract manufacturing, he didn't trust anybody to get exactly the raw materials he wanted. And for a long time, he was sourcing all of it himself. So it's very important to us that our products are very innovative, clean, sourcing only the highest ingredients and raw materials from all over the world. Actually, the kiwi, the New Zealand kiwi bird, is the symbol of our purity. And we like to use that on everything, including the bottle. Yes.
So that's what that is.
I have actually a registered trademark on that little guy, which is really exciting.
Or I should say, guy on there. That's the New Zealand
that's
kiwi?
That's the New Zealand kiwi bird.
Okay.
And that is our symbol of purity.
Okay.
And so, and then from that, we actually developed the line of, methylgenetic nutrition.
Okay. Can you explain what that is?
Yes. So the idea behind methylgenetic nutrition is to actually allow a practitioner to look at maybe some variances in SNPs or genetic defects, I should say, that somebody might have, and allow them to properly address them based off of their epigenetics. Is it turned on, right? So we all know we can have genes that aren't necessarily great genes, but if they're not turned on, they don't really matter.
They don't matter.
That line.
So epigenetics is the effect of our environment and lifestyle on our genes.
On our genetics, which we cannot change, but we can change the environment and the effect that it has on us.
Right.
So with that, you can actually use nutrition as a tool.
Okay.
So that is that line. And with over 63 products in that line, we actually created that at about 9 years ago. So really the first company to get into genetics and epigenetic specific nutrition.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
So it's a wide range of products and services that you offer, and you
Yes.
also do some contract manufacturing as well.
Yes.
Right. And now let's dive into this new line that we brought in a
Okay.
little bit here. As I said, it's the first time we brought in any type of homeopathic remedies. And is that the correct terminology? Remedies?
Yes, they are
Okay.
Homeopathic remedies.
Remedies. Good. I got that right. And I noticed that, and we're going to show you there's actually 4 that we brought in. And 4 out of the 5 use a spray application, which is that a little bit new for homeopathics? Weren't they always usually dropper?
Dropper are actually just a cap.
A cap. Okay.
And the delivery method is really a matter of preference. Really, the spray is more a matter of convenience.
Okay. It is. I prefer it. I mean, it's easy to use, like you said, and
Sure.
you can. It's probably more dosage specific.
It is very dose specific.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Good. All right. So now, tell us first, what is the pathway of homeopathics? We know we have vitamins, we have minerals, we have herbs. They all work a different way. How does a homeopathic work?
So we actually, when making our homeopathics, we actually use Hahnemann's methods. And I think it's really important to point that out because there's a lot of companies that are in homeopathic medicine that are not using traditional handmade homeopathics.
And wasn't he the father of
He's the father
homeopathy?
of homeopathy, right?
Right. Okay.
So, and Hahnemann believed that there is energy that goes into making these products that actually come from the hands. We do still use leather-bound Bibles to actually succuss them off of, which is really important.
Wow.
And so not only are you getting the energy from the human hand, but you're also getting the energy from the Bible.
Nice.
And so these are made in a way that is dating back to the late 1800s. And that process has not changed. The idea of homeopathy is that like cures like. And I say that because I think that's probably the most powerful statement you can make in homeopathy.
Yeah.
Our bodies want to attack something that it takes in that is in too much of a quantity.
Okay.
But when you can get it in sort of through the back door in a way that the body doesn't recognize it to be an offense, you're actually allowing the body to build up a proper response to it. That is homeopathy.
Sounds a lot like some other medical procedure. It starts with a V. But anyway, the way it should be. Anyhow, that's homeopathy. Now, homeopathy goes back, as you said, to the 1880s?
1800s.
1800s.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So it's been around a long time. It's tried and true.
Yes.
And the formulations. Now, I noticed on it, and somebody already pointed out to me, they don't have expiration dates.
Homeopathics do not have expiration dates. However, it's really important that you keep them out of the direct sunlight and you keep them out of heat.
Okay.
The reason being is because homeopathics are actually stabilized in alcohol. And so when you start to evaporate that alcohol and you have it in the sunlight, you have it in the heat, you're actually changing the properties of the product.
Gotcha. And they're in brown, amber bottles,
Yes,
glass
always.
bottles. Yes.
Imported from Europe. They're made a special way. And I think it's also important to point out, too, that we follow the Materia Medica and the pharmacopoeia ways in which different ingredients need to be succussed a different amount of times, which can actually change. One of the reasons why, when you're going to look through that catalog that you have, that it doesn't have how many times that particular ingredient is actually succussed is that because tomorrow Materia Medica come out and say that material only needs to be succussed maybe 4 times instead of 6 now. Gotcha. So that is ever changing, and we do follow that very, very strictly.
Okay, good. Okay, that's a brief but important explanation of homeopathy.
Yes.
Now, I'll tell you why some of these formulas caught our eye, and that's because people were coming in with issues with, for example, tinnitus. Okay, and we did different things that we use in conjunction and combination for inflammation and things. But we didn't really have a tinnitus formula.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first thing that caught my eye. So tell us about this.
So tinnitus, as it's just simply stated, is ringing in the ears.
Mm-hmm.
And so the nice thing about homeopathy is the way that it is simply stated on the bottle is what it is directly used for. So for the tinnitus, for example, may aid in the relief of the ringing in the ears.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then, like I said, we get a lot of requests for that, but we also get a lot of requests for something for vertigo. And we don't have an actual vertigo formula. So
Right.
tell us about this and some of the what makes it effective.
Well, again,
So I mean, like you said, it's like bringing in small doses of something.
Sure.
So you have small doses of vertigo in here?
No.
Okay.
No. So again, vertigo, can be assisted by chiropractic care, right? And it has a
Sure.
lot to do with the crystals in the ears. But there's a lot of other things that come and feelings that come from having vertigo. So
Okay.
maybe even after you have those crystals put back in your ears, you still don't feel very well.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody is prone to having vertigo or having tinnitus,
Mm-hmm.
these homeopathic remedies might be a good idea for them to be on, depending on what their practitioner says over a period of time.
Okay. Okay. Good. Now, before we go to the next two that are these 2 stars I want to talk about,
Okay.
before we go to those, I want to ask you a question about this term. Homeoprophylaxis protocol.
Homeoprophylaxis. So homeoprophylaxis is in the way that you would use several different types of homeopathic remedies
Okay.
to actually assist a person in whatever it is that you're trying to treat them for. So if the
Okay.
practitioner is trying to treat them, say for maybe it is vertigo or maybe it is nausea or whatever,
Mhm.
there is a way in which you want to properly treat them.
Mhm.
And usually it begins with, and that's any homeopathic prophylaxis
Okay.
protocol. Now,
Okay.
what I like about understanding what that protocol looks like is a lot of people don't know what they should or they shouldn't take this with. So, you shouldn't take homeopathics within 15 minutes of eating, drinking, brushing your teeth, any of those types of things,
Mhm.
because you're putting it in your mouth. And when you're putting the product in your mouth, you're actually putting it in if it's too close to food and it's not actually addressing the mucosa and actually absorbing in the mouth the way you want it to, especially also under the tongue.
Okay. So these absorb in the mouth, right? They're
In the
not
mouth.
necessarily swallowed, but I guess some could be a little
Sure.
bit, but they're absorbed in the mouth. We like that. And I noticed on here the first one in avoidance or at least time away from taking it was mint. And
Mint.
yeah, why is that?
Mint actually is strong and it actually lasts in the mouth for a long time, and it can potentially react to the way that the homeopathics are going to work.
Okay.
And it'll just erase it.
Okay, and then I also
Too
noticed-
powerful.
Too powerful. Okay, and then I have to make sure I don't take these with my morning espresso, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Or
You have to take
your morning raw garlic, for example.
How did you know? But anyway, no, I mean, but they can. You don't have to give those things up. You just can't take it around the same time,
Sure.
right? And it's about 15 minutes, or
About
is it
15
longer?
minutes,
About
depending.
15?
Maybe a little bit longer would be
Okay.
all right. But yeah,
Okay,
15
good.
minutes is a good rule of
Right.
thumb.
And the name itself implies prevention, right? Prophylaxis is kind of to give you the basis to prevent something
Sure.
from happening,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And is that the overall way homeopathy is used, or is it used also therapeutically?
No, it can be used therapeutically
Okay.
as well. So it just depends on the products that the practitioner is actually putting together. They could be putting together a protocol for prevention, or they could be putting together a protocol for somebody that might be in some type of an acute state.
Okay, good. Okay, and this is really great. It gives you a lot of dosing information on here on
Sure.
how to use it for age groups.
Exactly.
And how often that you need to use it. And homeopathy is not something you have to take every day the rest of your life, is it?
Nope, you don't have to, but some people find that it works really well and they like to. Other people, practitioners, will have them pulse homeopathy.
Oh, okay. Very good. Is it ever used in conjunction with kinesiology?
Oh, yes. Very much.
Yeah, where's Jeff? He's probably with somebody. Okay. But yeah, okay. So it's used quite a bit.
Very much.
With
Kinesiology also has a lot of energy proponents to
right.
it.
Yeah.
And because the homeopathy is made with energy as a part of it, it goes very, very well with kinesiology treatments.
Great. Now, let's get to these 2 stars. So we have And I want you to explain what the No Sod is in this as well.
Okay.
But okay, we have virus No Sod, and
Sure.
as Heather said, whatever it's for, that's in the name. That keeps it crystal clear. We have virus No Sod. We have also Vaccinosis No Sod. So these caught our eye, and how could they not in
Right.
this day and age?
Sure.
Let's talk about virus No Sod first.
So I think first what we need to do is we have to talk about what is a no sod. So
Yes.
when you're talking about homeopathic medicine, it's important to know that homeopathics are actually made with herbs, so Chinese herbs, a lot of different types of ingredients, but no sods and sarcodes specifically are made from tissues from the human body or animals.
Okay.
It can also be made with secretions, meaning saliva. It can be made with secretions from diseased animals.
Okay.
And so I think it's important that people know that, because a lot of times people, if you have a vegan or, you
Yes.
have people that
Yeah.
are sensitive to that, I think it's very important to point out the fact that these tissues, although they're hand succussed down to so many parts per million, that is what the mother tincture was.
Is there a standard on that parts per million, or does it differ based on the formulation?
It's actually different based off the formulation.
Okay, good.
And then what the Materia Medica says, like I said.
Okay, right.
But a no sod it is actually made with human or animal tissue, as is a sarcode. And the principle behind it, again, is that like cures like. So if you're going off of what the bottle says that it's doing, what the idea is that whenever you're introducing it in very, very low quantities in the body, then the body will recognize that it's something that should be there and needs to be utilized better in the body, or it's something that should not be there and needs to be removed from the body.
Gotcha. So for this one in particular, virus No Sod, is it just virus as a blanket or specific viruses?
It depends, because you've got a couple different types of viruses, and there are different homeopathics that actually will address different viruses. It's just really up to the practitioner to decide what is the most appropriate homeopathic. If you're looking at maybe just a virus in general, then you would want to grab whatever homeopathic might go with that.
Oh, okay. And do you make them that specific?
They are made pretty specifically, yes.
Okay.
But a virus would be made more broad spectrum than something that says maybe Epstein-Barr on it.
Okay. And on here it lists, okay, varicella, is that a virus? It has rubella, herpes simplex, pertussis, Epstein-Barr, which we're finding out is a baseline virus for a lot of things out there, right?
We're finding Epstein-Barr
Yes.
and things we never knew Epstein-Barr
Never
could be.
knew, right? Very interesting. Okay. So anything in particular about this we should talk about or know? This particular one? Safe for kids?
Homeopathy is totally safe for children.
Totally
All
safe for
homeopathic remedies, and doctors may dose them differently for children or infants than you would an adult.
Okay.
So, because they are made in an alcohol base, I think it's nice to know too that you can actually sit that out and let the alcohol evaporate before giving it to a child.
Oh, okay. Can you also
practitioners
heat
recommend it like that all the time.
Can you heat it?
You should not heat
Should not
homeopathy.
heat it.
Again,
Okay.
because you don't want to leave this in your car and you don't want it to get hot, because you will change the properties.
Because we have some herbal organic tinctures, and those can be heated.
Those can be
to get the alcohol to evaporate.
Exactly.
Because they're just herbal tinctures.
Sure.
Right.
And they're more potent.
Yes, much more. Okay, good. So let's move on then to Vaccinosis. Boy, is that a popular one, huh?
That's a popular
This must
one.
be flying off the shelf for you. Vaccinosis No Sod. Okay, let's talk about that. What do we have in here, and how's it going to help us? All vaccines, specific ones, protection in general?
Again, so homeopathy really helps the body identify things that are appropriate and should be in the body, and things that might be causing harm to the body.
Okay.
So when you're utilizing homeopathy, and this one in particular, it allows the body to be able to decipher the difference between two things. One thing that is actually helping the body, and the other thing that might potentially be harming the body.
Wow, good. That's very important right now. Very important. Yes, it is. These are very timely. I can't wait to try them myself, some of them. I don't have vertigo or tinnitus, so maybe I'll try one of the other two. But, they're also very economically priced. The suggested retail on the two On all of them, looks like it's the same, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
$21.50 suggested retail for this. That's very economical, very affordable for everybody.
Right.
Let me ask you this: is this something like there's some things we say you should have a bottle of vitamin D for every member of the family, not just one that
Sure.
you share? How about these?
So if it's a dropper top, I would say that it's probably more specific to that person because it's almost impossible to get that dropper in your mouth without touching your mouth.
Yeah.
But if it's a spray top, and they last a long time, but if it's a spray top, that one's a little bit easier to share. And then we've got a couple that are also a screw top as well. But what I also like to point out is that, homeopathy is not something that needs to be using, without the, adjunct therapies of allopathic medicine, right? So a lot of people have different things that their doctors are putting them on in the way of allopathic medicine, and that is perfectly fine. There's a lot of studies that show that there is no harm in using homeopathy with allopathic medicine, but again, that's for your practitioner to decide.
Always is, right? So, is there any particular reason why the tinnitus formula has the dropper and not the spray?
So, homeopathic medicine is so it follows so many different guidelines that when we have things in dropper tops, we like to leave them that way. And when we started coming out with a couple different things in the spray top, we decided we were going to leave them as is. And the reason being for that is, to be completely honest, there's a lot of paperwork that goes into going from a dropper top to a spray top or a spray top to a dropper top for the FDA. So what we like to do is when we go with a delivery method, we like to keep it that way.
Okay. I had a feeling they were involved in some way, shape, or form in that. They always are. But that's great information. And this, I have a feeling, is just going to be the beginning, Heather, of our homeopathic line.
I hope
here
so.
at
We've
the
got
World of
over 100.
Wellness.
We've got about 170 homeopathics.
I saw that.
So
I
it can be
looked
a little
in there.
daunting, but
It
there is
can
definitely
be.
something for
Yeah.
everyone.
And so different types of homeopathics, right? Too, like No Sods and others.
No Sods, sarcodes. There's oligotherapies, which means few. So in oligotherapy, you'll see maybe one or two ingredients in there. There's also combination therapies that will take like an herbal remedy and mix it with maybe a No Sod or a sarcode. That becomes a combination therapy.
Oh, yeah, a lot. We have a lot to learn, and we're going to do it through experimentation. That's how we usually do it when we bring in a new line. We try it, and I'm ready. Sure. I'm the experimental. I'll try it all. But that's great. This is awesome information, and I'm sure we'll look through and even bring more PHP products in. But that means you're going to have to come back and talk about them.
I'd be happy
at
to.
the next Wellness Week.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank
This
you.
is Heather Lord, everybody, from Professional Health Products. What is your title, actually?
I'm actually the vice president.
Ah, the VP. Nice. A VP that actually knows what she's talking about. It's great. Couldn't resist. Sorry. But thank you so much for coming, Heather.
Thank you for having me.
Don't be a stranger. Come on back. And hopefully we'll bring some more products in and see you then back in May. Okay.
Perfect.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
This is our 11 o'clock hour, folks. But coming up at 12, Dr. Bob Rakowski, special guest. Don't miss that one. Jamie and I are going to have a little fun with him. But we'll be back at 12. And this, of course, is available on our Facebook page, World of Wellness, and our YouTube channel, World of Wellness, as well. So we'll see you in a little bit. Thanks.